You know that.
What's good, Fins Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason back here with another one. I'm joined tonight by Jason Sarney of FinManiacs.com. Say what's up, Jason.
What up, Reason? What up, Fin Nation? Hope everybody's well. Happy Memorial Day weekend to you all.
And guys, EM will be joining us shortly. He's just running late as usual. He's on EM time, which is about 15-20 minutes after every show starts. So, Jason, how's your Memorial weekend going? Because I'm Canadian, so we had our Victoria Day weekend.
So far, so good, man. Well, I appreciate that. All thing south of the border is as good as they can be, as you say, north of the border. So, enjoyed the day. A little rainy, but had some fun Fin talk with another Fin personality earlier.
Oh, you're talking about your episode?
The dad joker of the day, Brian Bernsey. So it was fun.
Plug your Spike Your Enthusiasm. Plug it a little bit.
Oh, man, thank you. Yeah, it's a little something different. It's a football show, but it's a little bit more of kind of like that sarcastic, funny, who gives a heck, whatever. It's basically me doing what I always wanted to do that everyone said don't ever do. And I said, you know what? I'm really bored. So, yeah, it's a fun little let me be, not me, but me. And Reason, you're going to come on. So whenever you have some time, you'll jump on in, right?
Of course. And, bro, I'm a huge Curb fan, too. So I'm all over it, bro. All over it, bro.
So, cut with that kind of brain. But not to take things too seriously, but to keep it informative with a couple of laughs, hopefully. So I appreciate that.
And, guys, you can follow Jason on Twitter at Orange Aquaman, and he actually posts the stuff from FinManiacs on his Twitter, as well as you'll be able to find the Spike Your Enthusiasm videos that he's posted over the last couple of days. So check it out. It's pretty jokes. I love how the intro goes from legit Curb to Ricky Williams spiking a football in the old school Fox from the 90s music that was just epic back when Madden was calling games. That was amazing. That was pretty amazing. I like that time.
I don't want to get sued. I just heard the music. I don't know what network it played on. I don't know. 27 seconds took me a long time. So I appreciate anybody who checks it out now. It's a labor of love, man. It's fun. As you do things, we love talking. And, if it wasn't for COVID, it probably wouldn't be out. But why not?
And guys, before we get into everything, I want to say stick around, because when EM joins later on in the show, we're going to give you info. We got a special show coming up for you guys next week. Guys, we're going to have literally a legendary Dolphins player come on next Wednesday night. The man is inducted in the Dolphins Ring of Honor. We're not going to give away the name or give away any information yet until EM gets here, just out of respect for my co-host being here. So guys, stick around for that announcement later on tonight. It's going to be something we're adding to this channel, guys, moving forward, those kind of things. So anyways, Jason, and he's actually, this said legend has been on Jason's platform too as well. So we hope you all like what we got coming up for you. Jason, let's also talk about what we've kind of talked about with training camp. Guys, I don't know if you've actually looked into what Jason did in terms of his articles on Nick Needham and his articles on Preston Williams before they actually popped off. So we've kind of been in discussions with Jason, and on this platform, Jason's going to be really helping us out when it comes to training camp this season. He's going to basically be, in essence, one of his roles will be kind of like a training camp analysis, because, this guy's got an eye. The proof is in the pudding, basically, when you go and look back at the articles. So I just want to let everyone know that Jason is going to be kind of an integral part of us moving forward, especially as we get into training camp. And then in regular season, we're going to have him on regularly too. So we just want to let y'all know. But Jason, let's get into a few things tonight. And let's start off with the new proposed rule for onside kicks. And give me basically what your thoughts are in terms of what you think about this whole rule change.
reading it over a day or so ago, it's interesting. I'm going to use the word interesting. I like the action. I like it's a very low percentage these days that onside kicks are recovered. So, yeah, it's fun that there is that new component to it potentially, but I think that there might be injury concern. So I don't know, that's always a concern. But do I like it? Yes. Do I guarantee thinking it will happen? I can't say that, but I do like the direction and I like the thought process.
So, guys, just to go over it for you, as an alternative to the free kick, a team may elect to retain possession subject to the following rules. 1, a team may elect to retain possession no more than 2 times during the game. 2, the kicking team must notify the referee of its intention to forego a kickoff or safety kick and retain possession. The referee will then notify the opponent of the scoring team's election. 3, the ball will be spotted on the kicking team's 25-yard line, and the kicking team will possess the ball with the down and distance being 4th and 15. 4, the play clock will be set to 25 seconds and winds on the ready for play signal. The game clock starts on the snap and normal NFL timing rules apply. 5, standard rules for a scrimmage down apply. 6, if the offense reaches the line to gain, the result of the play is a first down and all customary rules are in effect. If the defense stops the offense, the defense assumes possession at the dead ball spot. 7, if the offense is penalized on its 1 scrimmage down, 4th and 15, the offense cannot elect to kick off after the penalty is enforced. Example, the kicking team may not elect to kick after incurring a holding penalty on its 1 scrimmage down. 8, scrimmage kicks are prohibited. 9, nothing in this exception prohibits a team from attempting a legal onside kick under Rule 6. So just tell the people what you're talking to me about before we went live, Jason, in terms of your thoughts about it increasing the possibilities of injury.
I mean, you have 2 chances, so it increases. It's a tough play. It's not just an onside kick where yes, there's injury concern on that play, but you're creating a full, live, tough, long down situation, which can create another QB sack, which can create linemen rolling each other over in the knee situation. You get 2 of those. So you're going to get maybe Maverick coaches who they're down 14, you score a touchdown going into the half, you get the ball back, but instead of doing a kickoff, maybe you decide to get greedy a little bit, but that could lead to a wide receiver popping a knee on an out route trying to get to the side. I don't know. That's my point. I don't think that's a deal breaker, but I think that's a concern. If it passes, I'm not negative about it. I do think it adds more fun to the league with a little bit of a word.
Does it feel XFL-ish to you a little bit?
It's funny you mention that because I initially said, all right, here we go. Here they come. This is like it's coming, but I would actually rather the point conversion rule adopted before any other rule, and that I would say, hey, I'll welcome that XFL rule. But does it feel XFL rule? No, it almost feels kind of I need to one up the rules because of the XFL, but we got to come up with something new. So I think that the XFL pushed the envelope for them to do something. And, I really did. I loved those 1, 2, 3-point conversions in the XFL. I really, truly did. But this was a push the envelope. Anything you could do, we could do better kind of thing. And who knows what's going to happen if the XFL ever comes back. But this is a decent rule and a nice little chess piece move if you're the NFL to try to up the ante.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, this is turning into basically a points league. And what you said, I mean, this is a way to kind of create a little bit more offense, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, anything where you're adding 2 possessions, potentially 32 teams, you do the math, and yes, obviously scoring will uptick overall probably. But then again, what is it going to do to teams who fail? What will be the conversion rate of the defense and where they get the ball, and what happens with wins and losses because of that play? You might need a lot of data before you really might think if that's a win or a loss, But again, when the 2-point conversion first came out, early 90s, whatever it was, it's still here. It's great. So you know what? Let's see.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting because you're seeing things like, I mean, they did talk about it after the XFL. There were rumblings that the NFL saw a lot of things that resonated with their own fans that the XFL was bringing, right? And there was talk about them trying to not so much bite the XFL, but kind of adapt towards XFL-like things just for, at the end of the day, more action, more offense, right? And it kind of seems that this is just the beginning. You're going to probably see more changes like this. Like you said, how you like that extra point rule, right? I know for a fact, I mean, and I'm sure you have too, we saw people who are pretty well connected that said the NFL noticed how popular that was, right? And that it has something that has been discussed, right, with the extra point. So do you think one day eventually this could lead to the extra point and how that works being affected?
No.
You think they're going to stay the course?
Reason to believe that it won't. Again, I never like to go 100% guarantee or 100% no chance. I'd love to see it. I like things that add specialist roles. Let's say there's a fourth running back on a roster that's like Jerome Bettis. He's your one-pointer. He's your guy. If you know that you could always guarantee yourself 1 point, that's your guy. It could make a guy drafted in the 7th round, the 53rd man on the roster. Let's say there's a guy like a Malcolm Perry. He might be your perfect 2-point conversion guy, a couple of yards back. He could run, catch, throw. He could do anything you want, and there are 2 other guys on the team, even with Tua and Perry and Breida, that you could really just create chaos for. And then if you're talking about 3 points, look at and I'm talking Dolphin centric, obviously. Look at the front court that the Dolphins have underneath. If you're talking about, a basketball comparison, you got Tua running point, slinging to power forward Gesicki, small forward Devontae Parker, and your big man going up, getting it at the highest point in Preston. So, yeah, if the Dolphins would have 3 chances to score 3 points, 2 points, 1 point, they already have a team with specialists in that regard. At least I could see that. So 5 years within that time period, if that ever happens, we're fantasy football players. We like the overs. Chicks dig the over, not the under, right? Mm-hmm. So anything we can get more high scoring for, I'm all for it.
And you just reminded me of something because we do have our draft tomorrow at 1 p.m. with that Dynasty League. But, guys, I am going to run a Phinside.
Right, lest we forget.
Yeah, I am going to run a Phinside the NFL fantasy football league. I'll have a paid league and I'll have a non-paid league this year. So I'll bring you guys some more info as we get closer to that. But if you guys are interested in fantasy football, just keep that in mind. And, guys, if you join my league, it's how the big boys play. I'll tell you right now, I do a quarterback, 2 running backs. I do 2 wideouts, a tight end, a kicker, defense, special teams. I do about 5 bench, but here's where it gets real, guys. I do 2 DBs, I do 2 linebackers, and I do 2 defensive linemen. And then I'll give you 2 bench players for your defense too. So I bring defensive players into my fantasy league. So if you guys are interested, there's going to be a $50 entry league, and then there's going to be a free league. So I know EM doesn't play, so maybe we'll be able to get him in playing this year by doing something like that. But there's another little rule change that's going on too. I just wanted to quickly go over, and it's that NFL owners will vote on bylaw proposals next week to change injured reserve rules in 2 significant ways. One, they're going to increase the number of players that teams can designate for a return off of injured reserve from 2 to 3. And number 2, make players placed on injured reserve the day before the cutdown eligible to return. And Albert Breer points out these are significant changes for teams. On the latter, teams will no longer have to carry guys through to the 53 to make them eligible to return off of injured reserve. So, and he even gave an example that will avoid situations like those last year with Greg Robinson and Kirk Coleman, who were cut to get other guys to IR. So, I mean, it is rule change season before we get hectic here with training camp and everything like that. Any thoughts on that at all, Jason, or is that just kind of clap your hands?
It's a good I think you're seeing a lot of just ways to create more room for players to get their shot and crack in, to the roster. So it also creates a little less movement if you think about it. Guys aren't maybe getting cut, and maybe it's a travel reactionary rule, but it's good for the players, I think. I think that it's beneficial for a team to be able to, do what they need to do, but not at the major detriment of a hurt player. And it kind of helps guide it and help the process along, really, for both. So nothing negative here. I'm for that.
Okay, and another little piece of news, which is Dolphins related. Let's go over this. When we were talking about money earlier that UDFAs were getting, because you look at this right here. I'll pull it up for people in a banner. According to SportTrack, Tyshawn Render, $65,000. And offensive guard / center Donald Stanley, $30,000 were the only UDFAs the Dolphins gave money to up front. And on top of that, going even further into the money they were paid, there were 442 UDFAs with signing bonuses, and Tyshawn Render's was 41st, and Donald Stanley's $30,000 was 78th. So they were given top 100 signing bonuses, and Tyshawn Render was given a top 50 signing bonus out of all 442 UDFAs. What does that tell you, Jason, in terms of, okay, we know the story. We know how Tyshawn Render, I mentioned this months and months ago, before the Combine, before anyone was talking about it on these platforms. I mentioned it on TD Finn's talk about how Bill Belichick, and I actually remember the conversation, it was in regards to Tua, and we were talking about Tua Tagovailoa, and they were talking about the Redskins meeting with Tua, and I said, Ron Rivera didn't even sit in on the meeting with Tua, but I also brought up how it shows if they're not sitting in on the meeting, they're scouting someone else, and then I brought up how Bill Belichick was out in the rain scouting Tyshawn Render. I brought this up months ago on the YouTube platforms, and does this tell you that Tyshawn was given all that money to kind of keep him away from the New England Patriots potentially?
100%. I'm actually surprised that another team, one of the other 30 teams other than the Patriots and Dolphins, didn't draft him. Good prospect. Little raw, could maybe be an in-betweener of like an end or an outside linebacker stand-up kind of guy, like maybe like Alex Ogletree, kind of built, kind of long, lean, kind of get up and go, kind of around the edge guy. So he's a project, and I think that the money does take him away from Bill Belichick and at least makes him a practice squad player. Mm-hmm. But there's two defensive players that I think have a major opportunity as undrafted free agents to make this team. He's 1A, and 1AA is Benito Jones. I love these two, and I think one of them becomes a Fin 53 and the other a practice squad player. But yes, the money tells me, and should tell anyone, he's not going to be a Patriot until it's a couple of years, God forbid, down the line. But they needed to give him that money.
Problem is, if he goes to the practice squad, he's probably going to become a Patriot, right? Because another thing.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's why he's the team. And I think that Benito Jones might be a practice squad player because Render's the guy they need to protect. And they need to keep him no matter what. So a practice squad player is going to make this team. Is it 1, 2, or 3 of them? Last year, we know who did.
Well, and this puts it into perspective that Donald Stanley, maybe the rumblings we're hearing about Dieter moving to center, it's clearly obvious that Donald Stanley is in the at least short-term, immediate this season plans. And on top of that, he's another guy where Flores, when you look at a lot of these guys they added, even though Eric Flowers struggled at tackle, he's a guard tackle. Karras can play center guard. Donald Stanley's another guard center. You look at the offensive line where you brought in Raekwon, he can play the 0, 3, or 5 tech. Like Flores really stresses these guys being versatile and interchangeable. And you look at Donald Stanley, and that looks like not only does he have a head up at Michael Dieter as being that backup guard to Karras potentially, but he's got a big time step ahead on guys like Jonathan Hubbard and Coltmeyer. You know what I mean? It looks like he's got a pretty big leg up on those guys going in. So based on this, would you basically lock Tyshawn Renner and Donnell Stanley, aside from extremely poor play in training camp? Would you pretty much almost hand them a padlock as being locks for making it out of training camp?
Can't give a lock for Stanley because, if he has to become expendable for whatever which way, at $30,000 is a lot more tolerable to eat and let go than a player like Render, who could really be a stud. An offensive lineman, Stanley, the risk reward if you let him go, how great can he be? I like him, but I can't give him a pass to the promised land right away. But Render's got that tag on him that has interest. You know that there's major interest from an enemy. So he could be just a guy who, let's see how he works. I mean, if not for nothing, he can give the other guys on the other side hell in practice as an actual 53 member and be depth in terms of a youth pass rusher prospect for this team, which is needed.
Well, and what's crazy about it too is like when you look at the investment, they must be seeing something pretty good on tape from what they've seen, because when you look at him, Jason, when you look at a guy like Benito Jones, and when you look at these players they're bringing in next to Kirk Merritt or even Matt Cole, Tyshawn Render's probably played on the lesser spectrum of against talent. You know what I mean? In terms of the talent he's played is on the lesser spectrum, especially compared to a guy like Benito Jones, right? So they must be seeing something if they're ready to invest that kind of money and really outbid. I mean, we know they did it with Malcolm Perry because before the draft, Malcolm Perry had spent the most time pre-draft with the Patriots. So we know they got them there. They know they paid him here to kind of get the Patriots back to back. Do you think they've seen something in terms of do you think they've seen something on tape that tells them that, okay, this guy, not only is this guy worth the investment, but this guy's going to be something like a la how they scouting department pinpointed a guy like Cam Wake in the CFL?
That would be great. That would be the absolute best kind of comparison for your biggest win. I did a little video on him for Fin Maniacs, about a minute and a half, 2 minute wrap up video. The tape does sing to you, but then you realize that the band is lesser components around him, and so are his opponents. But still, he's dominating. He's not like a guy like Alex Highsmith, dominated and is going to be a great player and going to probably be an outside linebacker, defensive end hybrid for the Steelers. Played in the University of Charlotte, not against terrific competition, but he played hungry, and he walked on. He is going to be a good player, good pick for the Steelers. This guy, Render, now, more hungry. He's got to make the team. He got a little bit of a bone thrown to him with the money, which is terrific. But now let's see if this guy, if the heart outweighs the tape, because it's there, but now you got to see the competition against players who played for the SEC. You want to go against, Raekwon Davis in terms of just physical contact drills. You want to outlift Raekwon Davis. You want to outblock, you want to outbeat, other blockers. You want to make people think that he's a guy who should have been drafted. That's what competition is for. So I think that there's a hunger there for him, much like there was with a couple of other undrafteds last year.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's crazy too is, we've been talking about how, certain rooms, whether it's the receiving core, the linebacker room, the corner room, a lot of rooms are starting to get filled up. Now you look at, they added Curtis Weaver, who's primarily going to be coming off the edge in that 3-4, right? You got Ogba, who's going to be coming off that edge in that 3-4. You got Lawson, who'll be able to do that. And now you're going to be adding a guy like Render, and those are the type of people he's going to be fighting with for snaps. So it's going to be a very, very interesting battle in terms of when you look at the investment behind the player, right? Like, you can clearly tell they want him to succeed in terms of they want him to push a guy like Ogba. They want him, and not just for competition, but I'm talking about the investment they've already started to put into the player. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to watch how that unfolds. Something I wanted to talk about quick is, we're going to get into a couple workouts. Yes, we're going to get into the Tua workout, everyone. We'll get into it right after this. But let's first talk about Jameis Winston's workout, Jason, because everyone's kind of clowning it. So he's basically acting like Barry Bonds after what? Let me count this. A 3-step drop, Barry Bonds. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I think a lot of people are kind of knocking him for it, without really understanding of what he's really doing back there. But I know you said it's just crazy how these workouts are getting different, kind of by the day, right? But, I mean, it's a creative drill, I'll give you that. But this is basically, when you look at it, it's all about hips, core strength, and the follow-through, which are all important to a quarterback. This is basically a Dak-esque type workout with a bat, right? So, because you got to remember, with hip torque, velocity on your throws, that comes from your hip torque. So, I mean, just like a hitter's trying to crank a ball, it's all in the hip, right? So, what do you think about the fact that not only are these kind of getting unique and these kind of getting crazy, but how it's kind of crazy because now we have social media to show these kind of things off, Jason. Whereas 20 years ago, if this stuff was going on, no one would be talking about it, right? What do you think about where these kind of like crazy social media, like, because it's click drills, right? It's drills where people want to get those clicks, right? Get noticed. And I don't want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about Jameis Winston in New Orleans?
I don't think he's a guy who in 5, 6, 7 years is going to be the guy who Drew Brees passes the torch to. I think it's a decent backup move, but I don't think it's the future of continuity there at the QB position. And as for the drill, I do think that it is more, let's see what I'm doing, everybody, which is great. He bat 8th on my company baseball team with that swing. I don't like how – I think that he's kind of pulling to third base, and I don't think he's going to beat out the grounder. So I don't like the baseball or softball or – I don't like the stickball swing. Whatever the heck.
Bro, he's trying to pull it into the gap, bro. He's just trying to pull it into the gap. That's all he's trying to do, bro.
And I'll tell you this much. I don't know why he's wearing a helmet unless he's imagining that Randy Johnson. If Randy Johnson is throwing the ball to him.
So true, though.
And then doubling his linebacker, then it's the greatest drill I've ever seen. But other than that, I think give me 14 seconds of Gardner Minshew with the equivalent of synchronized swimming. Those receivers must have rehearsed for days.
You saw that video yesterday?
Give me that.
Yeah.
I woke up to it. It was great. I'm a Minshew guy. That worked. Now, I'm not a stickball helmet, wear soccer socks kind of guy. No.
Dude, it's like, why the
Didn't
helmet?
work for me.
It's so true. Why the helmet, bro? You know what I mean? Like that. I didn't even think about that until you said that. I'm not even lying. Oh my God, that's classic.
The only person who's allowed to wear a New Orleans Saints helmet without actually in hitting drills was and should only be Ricky Williams.
It's true. That's hilarious, bro. That actually cracks me up. Bro. So you know what? Let's give people some context because that Gardner Minshew, if it's the one I think you're talking about, I'm gonna bring it up right now because it was fantastic. Is it this one, bro? The one you're talking about? Where is it? Right here.
Oh yeah, you're gonna see. Look, it's like the '88 Olympic synchronized swimming team coming out soon. It's like the receivers are gonna catch drop, two of them crisscrossing. It's beautiful.
Yeah, okay, let's show you guys. This is why, I said months ago, again, another declaration I made, bro. And people were kind of giving me I'm telling you, don't sell this team out on, I wouldn't lock in a guy like Trevor Lawrence yet, bro. I'm telling you right now, this guy pushed Nick Foles out of town, and they saw things they liked. And, he was at Washington. He was a pretty good for the Cougars. He was a pretty good quarterback, man. He was a lot better than Anthony Gordon. So, I'm telling you, people are sleeping on this kid, bro. And anyways, let's show this right now because you brought it up, and it actually, for context, this is what Jason said he'd rather watch than Jameis Winston, and I agree because it is a thing of art what you watch, especially how the receivers work.
Exactly. This shows what you could do as a thrower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right on the money, right in stride.
Now here comes the fun. Here comes the fun. This is gorgeous. This is great.
All in stride, too. A little bit of a wobbler there, but all in stride, man, one after the other. Like, fantastic. Front foot directed right to front arm that I always ripped Herbert for, guys, how he always swims out. Look at Minshew. It's always high and tight. Always high and tight, tucked, man.
What I noticed about him too, obviously you got to keep like your eyes and your head on a swivel, but everything was almost like you a baseball guy?
Yes, I am.
Remember Cliff Lee?
Yeah. Yeah.
Remember he had horrible years because he kept on looking off before he he had to get his head set with the throw. And I see that in Minshew now that he's kind of locked in with the head, eyes, everything's with his arm. Yeah, and I think he's going to have a good year, but you got to put the competition in.
Yeah, a lot of people sleep on how important head actually is when it comes to a quarterback's trajectory on the ball they're throwing, right? Problem is, in Herbert, this happened to Herbert a lot too when you broke down his film. His head would get wonky. So the thing is, when you're going right and left instead of one. Okay, so the thing is, even you look at Tua, right? He'll look off a safety, and then he'll keep his eye locked on that guy in the slot, and then he'll come back over the middle, make sure to lock his eyes on the guy when he comes back, even if it's like that, right? Thing is, Herbert would be all over the place when he's throwing the ball. And when you got right left, when your head isn't, when the mechanics even up to your head, when you're not locked on your receiver, right? What happens is you're going to get the ball going right or left, right? It's just like when I talk about the arm. When I talk about the arm trajectory, when you saw Herbert with the swim move, a lot of balls went high because when your arm isn't up, tucked, and tight, that is basically how you level out, and your head is how you level out. Think of it as a cross, okay? Your head goes left to right, your front arm and your front foot, that is your up to down. That is your high to low, if you look at it like a video game. So
your axis.
Exactly, your axis. Think of it as like a video game, right? That's the simplest way I can explain it to people. So that's why when I saw Herbert, when you saw me rip Herbert a lot was on his mechanics because he would make a lot of bad throws, but then you would see times where his arms tucked tight, his front foot, like that's the thing too. You got a quarterback. He never ran. He never ran from under center, right? Like he never ran playing college from under center. It was always spread. It was always shotgun. How you getting caught flat-footed when you're always shotgun? You got no excuses. It's one thing when you're backpedaling to get caught flat-footed a little bit. It's one thing when you're backpedaling to get caught flat-footed a little bit. That's another thing, okay? But when you're constantly out of spread, you're constantly out of shotgun, and you're getting caught flat-footed, bro, the thing is he's got such a strong arm that it will make up for where a guy like Burrow was flat-footed. You're going to really notice it on the trajectory and the velocity of the ball. Thing is, this guy got a rocket for an arm, so you're not going to notice as much. But the thing is, you won't get away with those throws at the pro level because people read and react quicker. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. It's still a rocket, but it's not to its full potential of how fast and how quick that ball can get there. Whereas in the NFL, you needed to get there as fast as you can possibly get it there, right? And another thing with Herbert, show me how many tight throws he made, right? Herbert is another guy, but I'm not going to get into Herbert. That's a different topic for a different thing. You know what I mean?
No need. I'm with you.
He's with the Chargers now, and good luck to them. But, I mean, yeah, you look at Minshew, and the one thing is you look at the footwork. The mechanics are just very good. I mean, what's crazy is you look at the footwork, and I'll tell you right now, and we'll show it in a little bit, but you look at the footwork right there. His footwork is good, but it's not as fluid and it's not as quick as Tua. Okay? Did you notice that? Like Tua, yeah, like in this guy in his back pedal, you know what I mean? You're doing that 3-step drop, but Tua's back there quicker, and it's like da-da-da-da-da, where this guy's like da-da-da-da. So, interesting take. Yeah, what do you think about what Gardner Minshew's going to do this year in Jacksonville? Like, do you think they're just totally going to get – they're totally going to be the worst team in the NFL?
I mean, they're a candidate. They're like 5, maybe 6 that are like candidates for that team, but he's an X factor guy. He's one of those quarterbacks that could, they got a weapon or two, they got, obviously Shark came on big time last year, but let's see the health of Fournette. Let's see what else they do. Who knows with whatever situation they have with him, but maybe a 5-win team and maybe kind of is their best, or 6 wins is their best case scenario. But I don't know if they're going to be the worst case. I think Gardner can get some wins, get some magic back. But if someone put a gun to my head and say, will he play 16 games? I don't know if I could say yes. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. We'll see. But I like what he's doing in working, and at least his workout videos at least are quarterback throwing a football.
Yeah, for sure.
But not to knock Tua. So Tua's is good, but we'll talk Tua.
So, yeah, let's get into the Tua right now. So we got the 20-second. I mean, we got the short little clip yesterday, right? But we got that full 20-second clip today. And, guys, is working the step ladder here today. And I just want everyone to take a look at just look at the feet, man. Just look at the feet, bro. Don't even focus on the hips. Just look at the feet. I just want to make a few observations too. That's my quarterback, Jason.
I just like that he's wearing strength shoes too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But you know what I like, bro? Does he not look bigger than he did in college already? His legs look like they're turning into tree trunks, bro.
He does. No. He looks bigger. He's putting in the work. You got to like what he's doing here because it shows what part of anybody's concern was. He's total fluidity here. Everything looks terrific. Total fluidity. But again, the only thing I don't like about these videos,
getting everyone hyped for nothing because it really is at the end of the day.
Someone's it's
just a step ladder drill, right?
Right, but he looks great. He looks great. It's total fluidity in how he's moving, but that doesn't mean that he's going to throw 42 touchdowns and 40,000 yards. It just doesn't mean that. But is he healthy? Yeah, he looks terrific. Still stand by where I'm at.
Bro, I think I'm going to cry. It's so beautiful, bro. But when you know what, man? I think, you know what, bro? I honestly think, there's some people that made some pretty good points. I think, first of all, I've already thought he's going to start at some point in the season. But if this guy's 110%, bro, you're not gonna get to 111%. And here's the other thing I'll say: Flores is only going to put him. If we all trust Flores and Greer this far, and for what they've done, what they've started to build, what they've accomplished. They're not. This man is not going to see the field until he's 110% because they got Fitzpatrick, bro. There is no rush. The only if I'm telling you right now, Flores will not put this guy out even if he's at 99.9%. You know what I mean? He got to be at 100. And the thing is, you can't get 111%. You know what I mean? Like if you're at 110%, that's as good as you're going to get. The only thing I could see is, if that O-line is absolutely struggling, yeah. Even at injury or not, I wouldn't put a rookie quarterback behind a terrible offensive line. You know what I mean? That's why I wouldn't start him in week 1 because I want to see how this offensive line is going to roll. Now, if Fitzpatrick gets hurt, bro, if you're going to ask me who am I going to start, 110% rookie Tua Tagovailoa or a top 10 draft pick bust Josh Rosen, brother, sorry, I'm going to be rolling with Tua on that. That's to say if even Josh Rosen makes it out of training camp as a Dolphin. But, I get what you're saying, especially when it comes to the offensive line. The offensive line, to me, worries me more than his pre-existing injuries or his, anything like that. I do think we'll talk about it later, but I do think he's going to pick up the offense pretty quickly. So I don't think that's going to be the issue. I think it's going to be more so on how the team performs around him. Your thoughts, bro?
I mean, look, the last time I was on, I definitely, if we see him, it's not bad. I just hope that we don't have to, if that makes sense, because I really truly feel like, and this is how I'm going into the season. This is going to be my 31st season as like a diehard Dolphins fan, where I care about the Dolphins more than I care about my wife, my 2 children, and the Dolphins. This is a year that I'm not going to go crazy with expectations because we're playing with house money. You know what I mean? So when you're already up a little bit and you're doing great, if there's no reason to push it all in to try to win the grand prize too early, you can really leave with all your luck gone. So if Fitzpatrick is healthy and the status quo is still fine, great. If there's an injury, God forbid, then that's something to discuss when there is something to discuss. Does he look great? Yes. Do I think he's going to be the man? Yes. Do I want to see him week 7? I'll tell you when the record's whatever and the health is whatever it is for everybody and the offensive line. I don't want to put people in a house with no roof over it. It needs to be built first or else you're going to get burned.
You only get burned if you leave the stove on, brother.
Or you're right, but the weather these days, there could be a volcano. It's 2020. A volcano could erupt and a freaking meteor ball can come out right now. I don't know what's going on. You got killer hornets. You got murder tarantulas crawling out of the holes. Who knows? I don't know. Crazy year.
Yeah. The reason why I know the reason why I would like it if we didn't see him is because that means we're winning, and that means we're doing well.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So I get that side of the argument in terms of that's
exactly. And just one thing, I'm never a guy to get my hopes up reason like this. But is the Super Bowl in Tampa this year?
Yeah, it is.
I think Ryan Fitzpatrick lives in Tampa.
Yeah, but they said that was
the parade will come out of his living room.
Yeah, that was a big surprise, though. That was apparently an actual factor. Like, not an actual factor, but that was an enticing addition for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offer, apparently, to Tom Brady to win one in Tampa. Because when was the last time? When was the last time the home teams won at a Super Bowl? I used to know the stat. I forget.
Happened.
Are you sure it's never happened? I don't think
a home team's ever played it all. It's never happened. I don't think, I'm not going to go 100%, but I don't think a Super Bowl has ever been hosted by its team that has played in it. I don't think a home team was ever in their locker room or the visitors' locker room in their building for a Super Bowl. I'm 99.999% sure. But I'll tell you, when it should have happened was 94 when Stoyo missed that kick against the Chargers. The Super Bowl was in Miami that year, my friend. That's when it should have happened.
The San Francisco 49ers played.
You were in LA, right?
They played in
it wasn't in their home building, though.
They played in Stanford rather than Candlestick. And the Rams played at home at Los Angeles Memorial. But I don't think either team won.
Oh, they did? Oh, interesting. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one's ever won in the.
But I mean that sucks.
Let's hope it never happens. Let's hope it never, ever, ever happens because I can't see Tom Brady. I can't see it. I literally don't want to see it.
Yeah, God no. Please, God no.
Okay.
EMdolphinfan laying down the hammer to the woman, saying, "Give me a second, woman. I gotta hop on right now." What's good,
gentlemen? How's everybody doing tonight?
Do you want me to share it for you again, bro? Just so we
How's
can.
How's it
going? I just want to see you smile, bro.
Oh my!
That's my quarterback.
That's my guy, man. Gentlemen, it still hadn't set in for me, really, to be honest with you. I don't know. Maybe it's going to take, whenever the Madden 21 drops, I'm actually have the joystick in my hand and I'm playing with him online, smashing somebody. But it still hadn't set in 100% yet that he's our quarterback. So, but he looks phenomenal. Look at his base. That's what reason we talked about this the other day. Look how much stronger and thicker he looks in his base, and looks like he's got that. Obviously the foot movement, but it looks like he's got that. Definitely has a strength back in that hip. The fluidity in his hips is there. So he looks like he's ahead of schedule, gentlemen. He looks like he is ahead of schedule, and we might be seeing him. It's a good possibility we might be seeing him at some point this year.
Jason made a good point too. Notice his shoes. He's wearing specific training shoes. You can notice on the heel.
I can't really tell. I'm on my phone, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, he looks phenomenal. And yeah, man, I can't wait to see him. Cannot wait to see him. So.
Is he coming for the job? Is he coming for the job, bro?
He should, and he should prepare himself. And he should be preparing himself as if he's starting day one. He should. That should be his mentality. That should be his work. That should be how he's preparing himself daily. And again, we talked about this on several streams. A couple of streams ago. I will not be surprised if he gets into training camp and he starts lighting it up. And Flores is looking around. He's looking at Chan Galen like, damn, And as much as I have nothing but respect for Fitzpatrick, but he's just not the talent, never has been, and he's definitely not at 38 years old. He's not the talent this kid is. Very few that I've seen on the collegiate level is on par talent-wise with this kid. He's over his complete game. So I cannot wait to hear those stories, those beat writers, talking about how Tua is just lighting it up because, again, he's so talented, he's so superior talented to every other quarterback on the roster. So I'm telling you, but I remember I'm going back to that interview about 2 months ago where he said that he fully expects himself to be 110% opening day. And he said he's preparing himself mentally and physically as if he's starting day one. So if you're taking Flores for what his word, you know what he says about, we're going to play the best 11 guys. And if we play the guys who give us the best chance to win. And if Tua is doing that, it's going to be hard to just, leave him on the sideline, gentlemen.
So difficult. That's the perfect segue into our players that could surprise. Let's start off with Tua Tagovailoa. And one of the reasons why I put him on the list for us was I think it's, a lot of people expect him to be good because he's the number 5th overall pick. But where the surprise to me lies in, fins up, as you know, from the coffee mug, where the surprise to me lies in is something that me and EM have been preaching for a long time that I don't think people are really taking into consideration still. And that's what Chan Gailey's going to run with this RPO added into his already spread offense is very similar to what Tua was just running within the Steve Sarkisian offense. So that's where the surprise lies in. I don't think people are really comprehending how easily this transition may be for him because he's going to be scheme familiar. He's going to be familiar with the terminology. The fact that one of his biggest strengths is his ability to make quick reads and quick decisions. And that's the number one thing you look for in an RPO offense. So to me, I think Tua is going to, we already expected the smoke, whether he was blowing everyone away or not. We already expected the smoke of the media coming out and saying this kid needs to start. But what I think is going to surprise people is how good the case is going to be by his play and his adaptation in training camp. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Jason, go ahead first.
Well, okay.
Well, I want to EM catch up, man. I got to save the throat. Go EM catch up, my man.
Well, all right, appreciate that, homie. Well, I think the two biggest obstacles in terms of Tua translating to the NFL is obviously he needs to get acclimated to the speed of the game, and this is where I differ with you to some degree. I think the terminology is going to be different. Now, the overall scheme in terms of route concepts, things of that nature will be, I think, very similar to what he saw at Alabama, but I think just the terminology will be different. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of teams run the same in terms of schemes. They run the same schemes, but it's just the verbiage and the terminology is different. So with that being said, he will. Those are his two biggest obstacles. But again, he's already proven at Alabama how he's able to, learn a playbook. Learn playbooks and learn concepts in a short amount of time, and he's able to process that information, apply it on the field. So his transition will be somewhat seamless. It'll be, in my opinion, I would be shocked if Tua comes into the training camp and then eventually the season, and we're hearing reports of him lagging behind in terms of his, he's not grasping things fast enough or whatnot. I would be flabbergasted if I read any reports of that nature about him. But I'm 100% in agreement with you as far as the scheme. But I think the verbiage and the terminology would just be different.
Jason?
I think things are going to be simplified. I think it's going to. That's why they got rid of O'Shea and the Gailey situation, to make the young kids have a nice, clean, easy transition from school to the NFL, to kind of play to their strengths and to kind of make it an easy go for them. I'm not worried about learning. I'm not worried about health in terms of his ability to, do the drills. He looks, again, you said it, fluidity. That's the number one thing that we see. And you say something great, and I'm with you. It still hasn't hit me. Maybe I'm not gaga yet because it hasn't maybe hit me yet. But when it will hit, and I'll tell you when it will hit me, and reason. And this is what I want. Take this for what it's worth. When he does start a real game, I want him to drop back. I want him to hit a 3rd down and 6 and a slant in the first quarter, get the first down, but I want him to get popped, right? And then I want him to get up, and I want him to wink. First down. That's when I know he's my quarterback. Game, hit, first down, popped up, looks great. Let's go. That will get me more than strength shoes and a ladder drill.
Well, I mean, you're asking this guy to throw a slant. He throws one of the best I've ever seen. So he'll complete it. Let's just hope he pops back up, depending on who hits him, for sure, right? But I agree. You want to get that. You want to get that initial. You want to get that initial welcome to the NFL quick and out of the way, and you want him to pop right back up and say, "How do you do, sir? Please, sir, can I have another?" Right?
Yeah. The thing with Tua, I'm not necessarily concerned about. I'm not as concerned as a lot of people about him taking hits. Tua just needs to get more discipline in terms of realizing it's not a bad thing to check the football down or throw the football away at times. He needs to get more discipline in that regard. And so I'm not necessarily concerned. I just think the hip was just a situation. It was just one of those things, unexplainable. unfortunate, injuries. But I think Tua getting implemented into our strength and conditioning program, an NFL strength and conditioning program. I think that, not to say that he won't get hurt, because everyone gets hurt in the National Football League. Every quarterback, every player at every position gets hurt. So it's just avoiding those, a reoccurrence of that hip injury, those catastrophic injuries, potential injuries. So I'm not going to be holding my breath every time he gets hit, like a lot of our fan base is. You know what I mean? Is it a concern? Somewhat. But I just think, once he gets into an NFL strength and conditioning program, he starts eating right, starts, taking care of his body up to NFL standards, I think he'll be fine, bro. He just needs to get more discipline. Get rid of the football. That's not a bad thing at times. Get rid of the football. Stop trying to make the NFL, the Sports Center 2 a.m. highlight reel every single throw. You know what I mean? So, but with that being said, I don't anticipate that being too big. Hopefully, I'm praying. But I'm just not going to hold my breath every single play, bro. That I think he'll be fine, in the end.
All right, so let's talk about another player that we think could surprise, and potentially for the second year in a row. And it's because, between the 30th overall pick and the acquisition of Byron Jones, a lot of people are forgetting about him. And that's Nick Needham, who all three of us are pretty big supporters of. And where I think he could surprise is, I think he could surprise by either making it happen if they want to shift him to safety position. And I think on top of that, I think very well this guy could beat out Noah Igbenogany and solidify himself as that third corner, because we saw so many good things from him last year, especially as that basically Nick Needham going to earn his snaps. We've all been seeing how good he's looked during this offseason. This man is a dog. There's no way. I just can't see Noah Igbenogany beating him out on the depth chart. And I think he's going to be nipping at the heels of Xavier Howard for even more snaps, especially if Xavier Howard doesn't return to that pre-injury Pro Bowl form. Where are you guys sitting on this?
Go ahead, Jason.
I like Nick Needham to a point where, he's got a cosmic X factor. And I like the word cosmic in a lot of different senses. It's just my own personal reason. But for Nick Needham, he has a hunger that not many people on earth could have, for reasons that not many people on earth should know. And that's all I'll say. And if you do your homework, and if you see what he does daily, there's nobody happier in the world right now than Nick Needham that we're talking about other cornerbacks. He is a guy that should have been drafted. He wasn't, because he played on a team in college that he saw 2 wins in his last 2 years as a player. You don't get a lot of publicity as a collegiate defensive back on a 2-win team as a junior or senior. Broke the school's record at UTEP for defensive breakups. That just means he comes to work every day. Mm-hmm. You know he does. He comes to work every day when it's not work. He comes to work every day when there's people around him wearing masks and gloves. He's wearing gloves too, and a helmet, and covering people. He has a motor that won't quit, and that's why his second contract in a couple of years, whenever it may be, and I pray that it's with the Dolphins, it's going to happen. And there's depth on this team that's going to make everybody work, from Howard to Jones to Igbenogany to Needham and to everyone else, because you mentioned the possible conversion to a safety. From what I do my work on Nick Needham, he is a cornerback. But if Coach Flores says, "Hey, 40, come on into the office. We have an idea for you," he's going to say, "Yes, Coach. Tell me where you need. I'm there." And then he's going to work harder at that position to make sure that's the job he's going to do. So he's on my 53, no matter what. But this is a good thing for Nick Needham. Everything in here is a good thing for Nick Needham.
Yeah, I look at the addition of Noah Igbenogany, I don't necessarily look at as his status on a roster is going to supplant someone only in the event of an injury. Because I think ultimately the approach, I think that Brian Flores, they're going to take, and if you look at how they prioritized stopping the run this year, with basically through free agency and the additions we made in the draft. I've said this, I've been consistent about this. If you're going off how New England deploys their defense, more than likely, and we saw it last year, Flores was deploying a lot of the same concepts, a lot of the same concepts. So I think the approach of this of Flores and this defensive staff this year is to prioritize, obviously, stopping the run game, minimizing teams on first and second down, and they want to implement all 4 of our top 4 guys and get them on the field as much as possible together. And how he's going to deploy them in terms of formationally, that's going to be a real treat to see. But I don't necessarily look at, again, only if an injury occurs. But Needham, we all know how I feel about that kid. I've been following that kid ever since he was, ever since he was at UTEP. I love this kid's skill set. He's an ideal scheme fit for this press man scheme, and I think he has the ability. He has the skill set that if they do want to make entertain the idea of making a conversion of him to free safety. He's got the long speed to cover the back end, the back third of the field. He's got everything you want. I'm not saying he's perfect, but from a physical standpoint, he's got everything you want from as a cornerback or even a free safety, because he has that requisite athleticism. So, and again, his attitude, always, he's coachable. You'll never hear him whine like Minkah Fitzpatrick did, last season about not wanting to play this. He wanted to play one position, and he didn't want to buy into how the coaches wanted to implement him in the overall scheme of things. So, again, I love that kid, but I'm not necessarily looking at the presence, them selecting that Noah Igbenogany from Auburn as necessarily he's going to supplant Xavier Howard or Nick Needham or Byron Jones per se. But I just think that, again, like I just highlighted, I think that is going to be the approach, to get as many defensive backs on the field as possible. So.
And I mean, but my whole thing is, I just feel like a lot of people are forgetting, bro. A lot of people are forgetting the progression we saw, by the end of the year. And a lot of people,
I agree.
A lot of people aren't paying attention to what this man's out here doing and how hard this man's been out here working. You know what I mean? Like, Needham wants it, bro.
But to be honest with you, hey, Reason, you look last year, as we know on the other on TD's platform, how the lack of appreciation of the season he had last year, coming from undrafted undrafted free agent, okay, getting cut, you know what I mean, and relegated to the practice squad, okay, and then they bring him up, you know what I mean, because he needed some refinement, he needed to transform his body, from what I understand earlier on in training camp and whatnot. And so when they cut him, put him on a practice squad, and for them to bring him up and him to be able to have the level of success he did last year, I'm telling you, man, again, is he Jalen Ramsey? Is he Byron Jones? No. But if you just look at the trajectory that this kid is on, man, the sky is the limit. And again, with improvement up front in terms of the run defense and also the pass rush, his stock, and that applies to all of them. Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, Noah Igbenogany, Needham himself, their stock is going to improve that much better because everything around them has improved. Mm-hmm. So I look for this kid. I'm not forgetting about him. But
I know you two haven't, because you two were the first people I ever saw who called him. But I'm talking about, to the casual fan, to the casual watcher, they see Noah Igbenogany, they see Xavier Howard coming back. And, another thing we've talked about, EM, and I know Jason said he's an actual cornerback. You know, when you go back to Flores and when you go back to the Patriots, what do they like to do? They like to convert a lot of corners to safety, right?
Exactly.
And I just feel like besides the exotic packages that you're talking about us getting to, thanks to having a significant better run defense and, you know, on top of that, a better pass rush, getting to those third and long situations where we can show those exotic packages and get more DBs out of there. I just feel like this guy's going to fight for a way where he needs snaps out because, bro, you saw flashes of Pro Bowl brilliance, bro. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying you saw complete games, but you saw plays. You saw the fluidity, how he turns his hips, you know, how he by the end of the season, this guy, we've talked about it, you pointed out multiple times, how many number ones was he covering and doing a damn good job on, and he was a UDFA rookie, bro.
He was our number one corner the last, 10 games of the season, maybe? He was our number one guy. And again, he had his growing pains, okay? But he also and that's what basically all you want from a rookie is to flash, is to show coaches why you drafted them, why they made that kind of investment in you. And it's up to the coaches and up to the players to to develop that consistency. Because that's what separates players in the NFL from the goods to the not so goods. Is everybody is talented in the NFL. Everybody's big, everybody's strong, everybody's fast. It's just the ones that are it's the consistency that separates the players in the NFL. And again, this kid, another year, off-season program, strength and conditioning program, another year in his defense where we won't see necessarily, because when I evaluated him last year, when the majority of his issues he had when he was in zone coverage. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of times he wasn't getting proper depth on his zone assignment, and it led to plays over the top. Like I think that it was I forget which game that was. We were playing at home, and he gave up that big play. It was a cover 2 shell. It was basically a cover 2 concept, and he didn't get the proper.
Cincinnati game was there.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jason.
I think it was the Cincinnati game.
What's that?
I think it was the Cincinnati game you were talking about.
And he didn't.
I don't know the player talking about.
Yeah, I think so. And he didn't sync. He didn't get proper depth on his assignment, and he gave up that big play. But you saw hiccups like that over the course of the year. But it was primarily came when he was in zone coverage. But that's teachable. That's technique. That's film study. That can all be corrected. But he's got the requisite physical ability to do whatever you need a good to Pro Bowl level cornerback. Whatever you need him to do, he's got that requisite skill set. So that's not too concerning. But love him, love the kid. I'm riding with you, homie. If you're listening, you might be Needham, Mr. Needham. You might be listening, you might not. We riding with you.
Any other thoughts with you, Jason, on Nick?
He knows, man. I don't want to keep it too much on Needham. I mean, people know my thoughts on him. But to say when you look at the cornerback room as a whole, you look at Byron Jones and Xavier Howard, the 27-year-old cornerbacks, 4 or 5 years in the league. Now you think about this. In 3 years, you could potentially have Noah Igbinoghene and Nick Needham as your cover 1, cover 2 guys, as your top 2 cornerback. And who's going to say no to that with potential progression? This whole team is under 30. And when you look at the roster and reason, I love to look into a roster, play around, build it. I don't think, certain roster spots are going to be given to players that we think, meaning who's going to be the kick returner, who's going to be the punt returner. Situations might be where there might be more cornerbacks in a room than normal. So I'm not worried about that just yet. Let's see what happens. But dime coverages, nickel coverages, Needham's going to be in there. And let's see what happens. If everyone's playing so good and a team calls up for an Xavier Howard and they're 4-2, I don't know. Just a thought. But it's a depth play. It's a next man up play. If, God forbid, Byron Jones has 2 games that he's not playing and you just happen to catch a Patriot game, well, you know what? Next man up. You're okay.
Yeah. That's something to definitely pay attention to. Is Xavier Howard. I love X-Man. I love Xavier Howard, but I've been consistent. This year, I wouldn't necessarily move off of him, but if he's playing well, and some team, and well, all of them, if they're playing well as a unit, collective, as a unit, and some team calls us like the Texans did Larry Tunsil last year, you know what I mean? That's going to be very interesting to pay attention to in training camp and then into this early on in the season. So, yeah, we'll see. That's a good problem to have, though.
All right, so let's talk about another player that could.
It's a great problem to have.
And that's, we've talked about him before, Kirk Merritt, out of Arkansas State. I know we've talked about him before. His 4.33 speed, his 49-inch vertical. I've told people before, I watched his tape against Alabama. I watched his tape against Georgia. I watched his 2 games against Texas State, the rival games. Even though he was shut down against Alabama and Georgia, I still saw a lot of things I liked in terms of he was still creating separation. He was still running good routes. Problem was the talent around him was just so, and on his side of the ball, was just so outmatched, whereas the line was getting destroyed. The quarterback wasn't having much time. They weren't establishing a run game. When we look at this guy, we look at his physical profile. He's ripped. When we look at his athletic profile with the crazy vertical, the crazy broad jump, with the crazy speed, I've said this before. I've got a theory that this guy, Albert Wilson, they kind of match what you're looking for when you look at the prototypical Alabama receiver that Tua Tagovailoa was just throwing slants to in that RPO offense. Now, I know a lot of people are in love with Isaiah Ford and what he did last year. I know a lot of people like Alan Hearn's story and like the connection between Alan Hearns and Brian Flores. I know a lot of people like Jakeem Grant. For some reason, people think he's a slot receiver when Jakeem Grant, if you go back to college, he's a boundary receiver, guys. He's an outside receiver. He is not a slot guy. And let's be honest, when you bump him in between that 5 yard, you take him right off the play because of his frame, and his balance just can't hold up against NFL strength. So when you look at these factors, am I the only one who sees that not only could Kirk Merritt surprise, but Kirk Merritt could possibly make a statement if things go his way this training camp?
Yeah, I love this athleticism, and you're right. He's a guy who could meet at point of contact after catching the ball and then take it 15 more yards, dragging people. There's issues. Yeah, there's reasons why he was around. He's well traveled. Listen, this guy won a national championship for JUCO, and it was because of him. He did everything. And this is a dude who, one preseason game, week 1, take him on a slant, whoever throws it, and just knock some dude who's going to be cut anyway, but big people go, whoa, that's all it takes. And for a guy, you hit the nail on the head. Grant is not a slot receiver whatsoever. He's a guy who's going to go on the sidelines and make big plays because he's that fast and he actually could jump high. That's what he did a couple of years ago against the Patriots in that Monday night game. It wasn't a slot catch. It was an outside boundary catch. But you're dead on. I love Merritt. And, guy like Ford, guy like Hearns, they're not locked on this roster. I like them, but they're not locked on this roster.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love this kid's skill set. I love obviously the athletic profile stands out. But I think if this kid had his best chance at this point, unless things can change in the coming weeks, unless he just gets to training camp and he's just have the hat and he has a Preston Williams like OTAs and training camp. I think his best bet is making the team through on special teams initially. But this kid, his his athletic ability, you have to find a spot for him somewhere. You know what I mean? And I think with him and Jakeem Grant in kickoffs, man, that's going to be very, very fun to see. That's like 2 of the fastest guys, You know what I mean? Two of the fastest guys in the entire NFL, you know, on your kickoff return team. But Matt Cole, well, sorry, we're getting a little bit ahead ourselves. But I think I will be shocked if he comes in and supplants. You know, and not to say that Alan Hearns is, you know what I mean, Julio Jones or anything like that, or Isaiah Ford for that matter. I will be somewhat surprised if he comes in and supplants either one of those guys. Even my guy Matt Collins, who I'm extremely high on. He supplants them on the depth chart, you know, as a wide receiver. But love the kid's profile. Obviously, his athletic ability is off the charts. You have to find a spot for.
I think, did EM freeze? I think you froze, EM.
I'm here. You there yet?
No, there you go.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Now you're good.
Okay, my screen went blank for a minute. But yeah, I think he you know, I'll be surprised if he comes in and just, you know, supplants, you know, Hearns or you know, Isaiah Ford, you know, on the depth chart as a wide receiver. I think again, if he makes it, it'll be, you know, primarily, you know, his role will be special teams. But
I think he's a better athlete than both.
No doubt. He's probably the best athlete on the team, bro, to be honest with you.
So let's
Byron Jones.
Let's roll into this guy next. Let's stay with the receiver because this is who I think is going to crack the special teams. And it's Matt Cole, because as a special teams player, he was an absolute stud in college. That was his specialty, basically, besides also being a beast where he was. But he really flashed in special teams. You know, he doesn't have that 4.33 speed, but he's very, very effective. And I think this is going to surprise because I think Kirk Merritt and Matt Cole are both going to make this team. I think Kirk Merritt is going to crack that receiving core. And I think Matt Cole is going – when people are talking about the guy lining up next to Jakeem Grant as a return, I think it's going to be Matt Cole. I don't think it's going to be Kirk Merritt. Jason, what do you think about this?
I'm going to throw a curveball. And I'm gonna put my stamp on this. Matt Cole is gonna be the new gunner for this team. He's gonna be Walt Aiken's role, and he's gonna be what Matthew Slater is for the New England Patriots. And this is gonna be a potential Pro Bowler, special teamer. This is New England South, guys, right? They need a guy who's gonna go on special teams and make a name for himself. And it's the flip side. It's on punt coverage. You know, Aikens is gone. That was his job, and he's going to get to that ball carrier, that return man, and he's going to create very good field position. Will he touch the ball a lot? Maybe not. Cole is going to make this team as the gunner, which will then allow Merritt to be a return man. And that might make room open in your cornerback room, in your linebacker rooms, in your running back rooms. This is going to be a very fun mix and match roster with football players, not linebackers, cornerbacks, wide receivers, football players. They're all over the place on this team.
Yeah, I agree with that. I can definitely see that, you know, being a possibility. Again, I think either one of these two guys, if they're going to make the roster to be via special teams, I just find that extremely difficult to believe that they're going to come in and supplant, you know, any of our wide receivers on our roster day one on the depth chart.
Isaiah Ford is a career practice squad guy. Is it really going to be that hard for Merritt if he shows up and he has that kind of athleticism?
But again, you look at how well he played down the stretch last year.
Different offense though now.
I hear you. I get it. But still, you know, these guys are coming from, first off, they're undrafted. They're coming from small schools. Doing it on that level and doing it in the NFL is two totally different things.
But hold on. Kirk Merritt was originally at Oregon. He just had character issues. So he was at a big school because he was that talented. It was just because of his character issues and 2 transfers later why he ended up at Arkansas. It was never a talent issue with him. Right. I mean, if a team like Oregon's knocking, it was a question of his attitude and character.
I get it, but he didn't have production at Oregon. I'm not concerned about where he was.
Yeah, but he wasn't there long enough.
Right. Well, but that's what I'm saying. All we know is his production came at Arkansas State. It didn't come at Oregon. It didn't come at any other school. It came at Arkansas State. So again, he has to get acclimated to the NFL, and that's the biggest leap, the speed of the game. Any rookie transitioning to the NFL. We know how difficult, and you reference that all the time about the difference in terms of speed, overall speed of the game compared in the NFL.
When you run a 4.33, it's a little bit easier.
Well, maybe, but it's not all about speed.
Reading and recognizing things at a fast level.
Right. And I mean, from that standpoint, the mental aspect of the game as well. It's going to be extremely hard for them. Could they do it? Yeah, because it's not, again, Alan Hearns is not Julio Jones. Isaiah Ford is not DeAndre Hopkins. So, but again, they've had success in this league. And so, again, a player coming from those small schools like that, I'll be surprised if they supplant them and, cause Miami, they force the Dolphins' hands in terms of a trade or a release any of our wide receivers on our roster. But we'll see. It could happen. Anything is possible. We saw Preston Williams come in last year. We saw we saw Nick Needham as an undrafted, what he did last year. It's possible. But I'm just saying, I'm just not going to hold my breath. But again, Merritt, he has that special athleticism. You know what I mean? And again, our staff, they have to find a spot for him. They have to find some way to integrate that kind of athleticism into their game, into what they want to do next year. They have to. That kid is too special of an athlete.
I really think Matt Cole, Merritt, Donnell Stanley, Tyshawn Render, and Benito Jones. I don't know. I think I would not be surprised if those 5 find their way onto the 53-man roster, or at least, or unless 3 of them do, and the other 2 end up on a practice squad, and then they get snatched up right away once they're on the practice squad.
I definitely think Benito Jones has a very good chance of making a roster, and I hope he makes.
Well, I don't know if you saw earlier, if you were in the comments, EM, but they gave Tyshawn Render $65,000 up front. That was the 41st most. He had the 41st highest signing bonus out of 442 UDFAs, bro. So they invested money in Tyshawn Render to keep him away from New England. And if he hits that practice squad, it's bye-bye Tyshawn, right? So I think, Jason, I don't know, speak on it because you were around last year, especially with the Needham and the Preston Williams. I think this is going to be another year where a lot of UDFAs, again, crack the roster, man, because we had a lot of guys, like EM's alluded to last year, who we basically picked up on a Friday, Saturday night. They were working at Lowe's. On a Sunday, they were wearing aqua and orange and suiting up for us. Those guys are going to be filled. Those guys are going to be replaced by these UDFAs that I think Flores really likes. What do you think?
I did a roster breakdown of everyone on the roster currently. Obviously there's 88 guys right now, 90 that are on. You got a couple of guys who have those exceptions, Broderick, whatever, Neto. Take those guys away for a second. If you're going to count the 53, these guys are on the team. But I have a couple of asterisks with practice squad players, and I put a couple of veterans in red. Cuts will happen. We will be surprised. We're a fan base that loves our players. People needed to go to therapy after John Denny was released. It happened. Things happen. So anybody could be released. Anybody could be expendable if we saw what happened last year. A couple of guys who might be on the expendable list, with all due respect, or Dre Tankersley, he's on the list. Sam Aguavian, he's on the list. Alan Hearns, these are not guaranteed spots. So if a guy like a Kurt Merritt is turning heads and he's cheap, he has to be the guy who comes on in and is the 6th receiver / 2 kick returner. And same regard for Tyshawn Redner. Look, you're not going to maybe re-sign Davin Godchow, So if he's a guy that you think might not be,
that's Benito. Benito takes Davon Godchow.
I agree.
Right, but
I agree.
You need to find ways to retain guys that might take over Because remember, they're not going for a Super Bowl this year, right? This is still year 2 of the rebuild. So you need to retain 22, 23, 24-year-old players at $65,000 instead of seeing them in a Patriot jersey. So Render really should be on the team, save money in camp, you know. As far as, you know, Merritt McColl, I'm going to stick with my Cole thought. Unless he bombs, unless someone is, you know, unless he just can't handle the heat, literally and figuratively, that's where I think his roster spot's going to lie. As for some of the other guys, my sweet spot is 3 to 4. But if 5 undrafted free agents make this team, they're all under 30 to begin with. Why not? Send a couple of million out the door, bring a couple of grand in. Why not?
I think you forgot about Jerome Baker. He should be on that list as well. But I don't know if he is. Well, I'm serious.
I can't say that I'm 80% like all the way with, you know what I mean? There's 20% of me that says, oh, we traded him, but what did we get? You know, but like, I like Jerome. I think that he could be a good player, but he's still young. He's got time. Well,
speaking of Jerome Baker,
he's got.
Speaking of Jerome Baker, though, a player that I think could surprise is Andrew Van Ginkel, and we saw at the end of last year, Van Ginkel was not he was one of those rare breeds of he looked like he was a playmaker at the linebacker position.
Yeah.
And me and you have probably talked about this. You know, when we look at a guy like Vince Beagle, however you want to pronounce it, but when we specifically look at Andrew Van Ginkel, who's Mr. Ballgame's boy, I think Van Ginkel's presence and Van Ginkel continuing to grow and develop, I think he's going to knock Jerome Baker further down that depth chart because, again, this is a guy Flores brought in, correct? So what do you think in terms of not only is a Flores guy, not only did we see playmaking, but what do you think about is he one of Jerome Baker's biggest threats to not only a roster spot but also snaps?
Oh, absolutely. Van Ginkel, and we saw it the last, I would say, 3 to 4 games last year. And I've been consistent about this since November. I think with the additions that we made, I think with Beagle and Van Ginkel, they were played too much primarily on the edge last year. I don't think that's they're best suited in that role to be playing to warrant the majority of the snaps on the edge because their profile just doesn't, the profile is just not there. So with the addition of Agba, Shaq Lawson, Curtis Weaver, Strobridge, we still have, his name is, I'm sorry, his name is escaping me.
Christian Wilkins?
No.
Vince Beagle?
It'll come back to me. But anyway, man,
Ledbetter?
Forgive me.
Zach
I'm tired.
Seiler?
Forgive me.
Zach Seiler?
Ledbetter. The Ledbetters of the world. You know, there's a lot of depth in terms of edge players that fit that profile. You know what I mean? So Van Ginkel, I think, he's more of, like you said, you hit the nail on the head reason. He's a playmaker like in the mold of a Kyle Van Noy, I think. I think his skill set is very similar to what Kyle Van Noy is. And I think he will be transitioning more off the ball as well as Vince Beagle, because Vince Beagle really he's a versatile player. You know what I mean? He's played in multiple schemes. When he was at New Orleans, he was basically a middle linebacker in New Orleans in their base 4-3. But he has the skill set, and he proved that last year that he has that versatility in his game that he can transition on the interior of our base 34, in my opinion. And we saw that the last 3 to 4 games of the season when, in particular on rundowns, on first and second down, you saw Beagle as well as Van Ginkel playing in those two interior roles on our defense. And our run defense improved significantly the last 4 or 5 games down the stretch last year. So Jerome Baker, again, I've been consistent about this for a year now. He's just not a fit in this defense. He's just not. He's not. Reason a couple streams ago, he highlighted how he graded out this year in terms of the run game, which I've been criticizing him for a year now. But What was shocking was that how poor he was in terms of coverage. And so again, this is a player who his MO is supposed to be, oh, well, he's poor in the run game, but he's very good in coverage. Well, the analytics are contradictory to that, when people is contradictory to that. So again, this is a player, in my opinion, if I'm the Dolphins, I'm going into the offseason, and I think this is on the table. Again, I don't have any kind of sources within the Miami Dolphins organization. I'm going off of scheme, athletic profile, basically what the moves the Dolphins have made, you know what I mean, in terms of profile and scheme. I just don't think he's an ideal fit. I don't think he's the fit at all in his defense. And if I'm the Dolphins, I'm going into the offseason, I'm looking for potential trade partners for him and as well as Devon Gottschall, because ultimately I don't think they're going to pay him the money that he's going to ask for. But
yeah, and Jason,
I think those two players will be true.
Before we get your thoughts, I just want to go off of what EM just said about the stats, because I don't know if you heard them, but basically in coverage last year, Jerome Baker was targeted 64 times, but he allowed 50 receptions for 78.1 completion percentage against. But he also led a 106.8 passer rating against. And he had over 200. He had 276 yards after the catch against them. So he even had a problem with making the tackles right away to an extent. And he allowed 557 total yards. And again, 276 of those. The average yard per reception against him was 11.1 yards. He also had 4 penalties against him. So that's what he's saying. When people talk about how good he was in terms of like, oh, well, he's not good in the run game, but he is good in coverage. When you look at how he was in coverage, and the tape also screamed this too, when you look at how he was in coverage in this 3-4 scheme with all these responsibilities, you could tell he was nowhere near as comfortable as he was when he was in that 4-3 wide 9, right? It was clear as day that when you look at Jerome Baker last year, he is a prototypical 4-3 linebacker. He is not a multi-scheme. Yeah, exactly, a Will linebacker. He's not a multi-scheme. He can't be a Mike in a 3-4. You know what I'm saying? So what do you think about in terms of Van Ginkel pushing Jerome Baker for snaps, Jason? And what overall did you think of Jerome Baker last year?
I mean, look, your stats are correct, and the proof's in the pudding. I vividly remember a lot of the penalties for Baker, and now that you're saying the stats, I'm actually thinking, yeah, bad coverage in the field. Baker should have had a lot of yards after the catch up. I'm seeing it now, and as much as I like the player, I think about body type now. Van Ginkel is 6'4", long guy. He's got really long
250. 250.
So he got 250. Yeah, I mean, he's a baller, and he's one of those Western kids. He even played D2, moved up to Wisconsin. He's a Flores kind of guy. That's why they drafted him. Baker was not drafted by this.
You know who he reminds me of, guys? You know what he reminds me of? I don't want to use this word, but I have to. He reminds me of a poor man's version of Zach Bond, who just came out of Wisconsin.
Yeah,
very similar.
Zach Bond. Zach Bond is just a better athlete than what he is.
That's why I said
that's the only difference of the two.
Poor man. Very
similar.
Yeah.
Very similar. And looking go ahead. I'm sorry, Jason. Go ahead, bro.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just saying Van Ginkel is the guy that you want if you're the guy building this team. Lunch pail, hard hat, lunch pail. Bring yourself to work and don't leave until the whistle's blown and 00s, 000s on the clock. He's a worker.
And see,
I'm not saying Jerome Baker is not. I like Jerome Baker. I love Van Ginkel. I think he's a player on the up, where Jerome Baker is a player on the, all right, let's see what's going to happen.
And see, if you look at how Wisconsin deploys their linebacking core over the years, they require a lot of them in terms of them being able to play multiple positions. You know what I mean? And obviously the Dolphins prioritize that versatility in players. That's the theme. That's the theme of this team is versatility. And You look at Vince Beagle is from Wisconsin. Look at how he's come from that same scheme that your Van Ginkels, your Zach Bonds of the world came from. And again, versatile players, but most importantly, they have that athletic profile that this team covets. You know what I mean? And they are perfect in terms of their profile, transitioning to the interior of this defense. But I think ultimately the starters are going to be Raekwon. Off ball, I think the starters are going to be Kyle Van Noy and Raekwon McMillan, and I think Vince Beagle and Van Ginkel will be solid depth. So we went from you look at the depth in our linebacking room now. It is something. This is a very, very deep team from that perspective.
And I just want to, because Sharif is like just overly invested in Isaiah Ford right now in the comment section. And I just want to say, in terms of, we're talking with Jason Sarney, who, last year, one of his specialties for Pro Football Network, Sharif, was covering the offseason and the training camp. And he called Nick Needham, he called Preston Williams. So when you hear him talking about Isaiah Ford, and, if a guy like Jason Sarney looks at a guy like Kirk Merritt and says a Kirk Merritt could make an Isaiah Ford expendable, trust me, that's coming from a place of knowledge, man. So the thing is, don't get disinvested on a guy that far down the depth chart, because I'll tell you right now, Kirk Merritt athletically, Isaiah Ford isn't even in the same realm as Kirk Merritt, okay? Yeah. And there's a reason why you are. There's a reason why Isaiah Ford's been a practice squad player the majority of his career. He was also brought up last year out of necessity. So when you got guys like a Matt Cole or a guy like especially a guy like Kirk Merritt come in, yeah, they're big time threats to a guy like Isaiah Ford. And it doesn't matter what I see you talking about how he helped Rosen last year. First of all, I'll say it's pretty common knowledge that Fitzpatrick helped Rosen the most. Second of all, guess what? It's 2020. It don't matter what you did in 2019. It's not about the NFL is a business of not what have you done for me lately. It's what have you done for me today. And a guy like Kirk Merritt, man, I'm telling you, if he shows good route running ability, if he shows up and if he shows good separation, and if he shows nice soft hands, Isaiah Ford ain't going to stand a chance, brother. That's just George is right. Upside and potential alone. You talk about a guy with that kind of athleticism that EM just alluded to. You can't teach that. You cannot teach 4.33 speed in a 49-inch vertical. You can't teach that. That's a specimen, bro. And there's a reason. I said to EM earlier, there's a reason why a team like Oregon brought him in. And don't let the fact that he finished at Arkansas State kind of lead you to he's just a small school player. Man, if he kept his head on straight, we could have talked about this guy putting up massive numbers at Oregon, and he could have been a top 3 round pick. So that's where we're going with a guy like Kirk Merritt. What did you want to say, Jason?
You're right, Weezy, you're right. Good. I want to piggyback off of a guy like Merritt. Because they went to a small school or because they, weren't drafted, it doesn't mean they're not skilled. It doesn't mean that they're not better on paper or better in the intangibles. What Isaiah Ford did at the back half of the back nine of last year could very well get him a number 3 receiving job on Chicago or, in Jacksonville if something happens. I'm not saying he's off the Dolphins, but look at who left the team and who was expendable. Laramie Thompson, Minka Fitzpatrick, Rashad Jones, Kenyon Drake. You guys were waved goodbye and traded goodbye to. So if there are better people at $1 to replace someone at $3, $3 goes away. And that's as simple as that.
And he's saying, but they're both not Preston or Randy Moss or Nick. These dudes are special in their first year. How do you know that, Sharif? You haven't seen Kirk Merritt or Matt Cole have their first year professionally. You can't even make that statement. I'll tell you right now, athletically, when you just go off pre-draft, pre-training camp first year, athletically, Kirk Merritt is and that's another thing. Where did Randy Moss get drafted out of?
Tulane.
Okay, he didn't get drafted out of a big school. He was another guy, Marshall. Marshall, right?
I'm sorry, yeah, Marshall. My bad.
He got drafted out of Marshall. Again, another because of character concerns, he went down. Yeah,
he was a Florida State recruit.
Exactly. So again, like Kirk Merritt, I'm telling you right now, just on if you were to line Kirk Merritt up first year, how he is, where he is right now against guys like a Preston Williams, I'll tell you right now, if you put Preston Williams and Kirk Merritt in the same camp, a lot of people are going to have higher hopes for Kirk Merritt just off of what you've seen, because he's a freak. Like, that's the thing. He is a freak. That's the thing that he has over people. People would still think, Preston's going to make it, but the fact is people would be higher on Kirk going into training camp just based off the freak status alone.
I will say this, though. And it might be somewhat of a pushback on Merritt. There's a lot of fast guys that get drafted into the league, every year, and they flame out. Again, I'm not discounting this kid. I love this kid's athleticism, but it's the mental aspect of the game that I'm more concerned about with him, because Flores, even though he might be a superior athlete than your Allen Hurns and Isaiah Fords of the world, but they're reliable in terms of knowing where they're supposed to be when they are supposed to be there. They know that you saw Flores. That's one of his biggest things is about dependability. Discipline, dependability. You're supposed to know where you are and you're at all times. But again, it's not necessarily a Kirk Merritt issue. You have that question mark with every rookie coming into the league. I'm just saying the small school, the fact that he didn't play against top level competition week in and week out. You know what I mean? Again, this is not a knock on the kid, but I just think that ladder, even how good of an athlete that he is, I just think in terms of supplanting a wide receiver spot, it's going to be extremely difficult. Now, again, he can make the team in another capacity. He can very well do that, and I think special teams as a kickoff returner with him and Jakeem Grant, that's going to be extremely exciting. That's going to be very exciting to see.
I just don't see
it's the mental aspect of it.
I don't see 4 to 6 being as difficult as you may be leading people to believe to crack for him, to be honest with you. I don't think beating out an Isaiah Ford or even beating out an Allen Hurns, as long as you can pick up the playbook and you can pick up your route tree, you're going to be like with that kind of freakish athletic, you're going to probably win that battle.
I agree. And that's exactly what I'm saying. It's the mental aspect of it. But again, the normal growing pains that's placed upon rookies transitioning to this level, okay? Then on top of the lack of competition, elite competition, you're going to have to get adjusted to that.
But when you look at it, wide receiver and running back are two of the easier transitions to the NFL, because especially, what do you mean? Look at Preston Williams. He admitted he didn't even know what he was doing out there, and he was in the running for early on being rookie of the year because of what he was just going out there and running routes, bro. And running back, it's just you gotta recognize when you're facing man or zone. You gotta look at where the holes are going, and it's not like being an offensive tackle or being a quarterback or being a corner.
I will agree with you as far as the running back position is concerned, but you look at Preston Williams, you're saying, but how often does that happen? How often do you see an undrafted rookie at that position come in and dominate, not necessarily dominate, but have the level of production that this kid was having up until he got hurt? You don't see that often. So to say, well, Preston Williams did it, this kid.
I'm just using him as an example. There's tons of rookies. Look at Michael Gallup came in last year, first year. He had there's tons of rookie receivers that come in. Mike Evans, his first year, he was quiet for the first 4 or 5 games, and then the last 12 games of the year, in his rookie year, he blew the doors off the league. It happens all the time with rookie receivers. Calvin Ridley, even behind Julio Jones, he was
a first-round pick as well.
I'm just saying it happens all over the draft with receivers.
I'm talking about undrafted guys. I'm talking about undrafted status. That's what I'm saying. You don't see that often.
It is lightning, and you're right. In a sense that with Preston Williams and with Nick Needham specifically, there's 2 reasons separately, and I know we're talking receivers, but Preston Williams had a bad luck X factor, and I don't want to talk about that aspect of why he wasn't drafted. He wasn't drafted because of anything to do with outside of or inside of the lines. It was bad stuff off the field that wasn't even completely accurate in character. He didn't have character.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, there's not a Preston Williams in every draft. Nick Needham on his pro day had a 40-yard time against the wind, different than into the wind by 0.2 of a second. And that's what the school and the reporters reported during his pro day. It was 4.52 instead of 4.41 or something like that with the wind. That's millions of dollars around that he didn't get drafted. The Dolphins took a flyer, and look what Needham proved. It's almost like that. It's not what you know, it's who you know. I disagree with that. It's who you know, but you have to prove that because of who you know got you to where you are, you stayed there. So a guy like a Merritt, he has the talent. Does he have the head capacity? You're right, EM. But you know who the right coach is? Brian Flores. He is I'm a New York guy. I'm from Queens. Flores is from Brooklyn. So I just have that borough. He's my age, born same year. My parents taught 3 minutes from where he grew up. I just know the character he is, much like we all do. So Coach Flores will put the fear of God in.
And I don't want
Merritt wants to say no to God. Yeah.
I don't want the fan base to think that I'm killing this. I'm not a fan of this kid. I'm a fan of him. I'm just saying I'm just going to pump the brakes a little bit in terms of him supplanting.
Oh, sure.
You really think
that position.
I think you're overselling how good our 5th and 6th guys are. I think that's what I think is happening.
I told you, bro. I told you. I told y'all. I've been consistent about this. I think if Matt Collins can stay healthy, and I keep telling y'all this, we'll have an opportunity to readdress this particular issue later down the road. Remember the day that I called it. But I think Matt Collins, this kid, I think you're sleeping on how good athletically he is. I mean, this kid is like, do you read?
The few times he wasn't healthy, I watched him.
But he just can't stay healthy. But if he stays healthy, I think he's going to be. I think his roster spot is cemented.
What is Merritt?
I think the only threat.
Merritt is a Flores guy.
Yeah, I get it.
Merritt's like a Flores guy too. I'm reading the comment. I just want to say, I'm reading the Sharif comments, and listen, I give all the credit in the world to Flores, to Greer. I'll tell you who else I give credit to. The Northeastern scout, the West scout, the SEC scout. It's not just them one or two guys. It's the department. It's a team. It's from the top to the bottom. And all these guys are putting in hours and hours and hours and hours of work, probably better than I'd say 25 other teams. And this scouting department run by Flores, who started with the Patriots as an assistant scout. That's what he made his butter and bread with, scouting. So this is not a surprise. And you have guys like Marvin Allen, Reggie McKenzie helping out in that front office. Greer, Flores, McKenzie, Allen. This is all not an accident. It's not an accident.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, I'm not, I'm a fan of this kid's ability, but I just think I'm just not as convinced that he's going to come in, him or Matt Cole, for that matter, come in and solidify.
I said it before. Matt Cole's going to make special.
I mean, stick to your convictions. Stick to your convictions. But in terms of if I had to, I will agree with y'all in terms of the two wide receivers that need to be looking over their shoulder. That would be Allen Hurns and Isaiah Ford. I do agree with that, but I'm just saying I would be surprised.
The guy can't stay healthy.
Pleasantly surprised if they come in and supplant those two and they force the Dolphins' hands. And if they I'm really. But I just, I would just be pleasantly surprised if they they come in and supplant them and force the Dolphins' hands to move off of, either one of those, both or either one of those players. I would just be, but it'll be a pleasant surprise though, especially from a Madden standpoint, because that kid's speed is going to be ridiculous on Madden, bro.
And that's the thing. This is the thing. With this RPO and this spread set, think about it this way, okay? Let's just think about it. Let's go based off athletic profiles and what they can do, okay? If you're going to run 4 receiver sets, okay, to me, automatically, who pops into mind in the 2 slot positions? Albert Hearns and Kirk Merritt, and you can interchange one of them with Gesicki. I don't see that being – Matt Cole doesn't have the speed. I don't think Allen Hearns – I mean, you could throw in Allen Hearns, but, I mean, just the upside alone from what you – from, like I said, we talked about this from Alabama and when I talked about Kirk Merritt when he played the SEC teams, okay? Here's the thing, okay? Another platform was showing highlights of this player, okay? They weren't showing lowlights, okay? So I watched him against Texas State, the 2 games in 2018 and 2019, because they're rivalry games. And each game he had over 150 yards receiving, and he blew the teams up, okay? He won those games himself. So when I watched against Georgia and when I watched against Alabama, specifically this is to you, Jason, because I've had this conversation with EM, because the talent around him was so inferior and because the ball wasn't getting to him because the O-line wasn't holding up, poor quarterback play, they couldn't establish a run game, I was watching Merritt in terms of, okay, are you still running your routes? Are you still getting separation? Are you still doing the little things off the line, even though you're not putting up on the stat sheet? And I'll tell you right now, Jason, if they had better offensive line play, if they could establish some semblance of a run and they had a decent quarterback, Merritt was creating separation against SEC coverage. And I was noticing it, bro. Like it was noticeable, bro. So that's what I looked at, bro. That's why EM says all the time, and this is not to you, but this is the other people, get off those 2 a.m. Sports Center highlights. Get off of that Madden mentality. And you want to look at games for players with Kirk Merritt, for example. You want to look at the games where he didn't produce, and you want to answer the questions, okay, why didn't he produce? Is it on the player not doing the right things, or is it on the talent around him not allowing him to succeed? And when I looked at him in those 2 SEC games, he still had, I believe it was against Georgia, I think he had 39 yards, and I think he had against Alabama, he had yardage, he had like 20-something yards or 30-something. Anyways, he still got yardage, okay? At the end of the day, he just wasn't putting up 150 yards.
I will.
He graded fine. Go ahead, him.
No. I'm sorry, Jason. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
I'm saying to follow up with reason, he graded fine in those big games against the better competition because he's played against them. Look, he's also a recruit that played up to ability back in high school and camps with these players. He just had those bumps in the road. So he is the perfect player to push in competition, Hearns and Wilson. And just I'm going to stick to my Cole, prediction that I think that if Flores goes up to a guy like a Cole and say, look, I'm going to make a deal with you. Here's the good news. Here's the bad news. The good news is you're going to make the team and you're going to have a great career. The bad news is you're never going to have a reception in the NFL. Sorry. But you're going to be our gun. And that's it.
Mm-hmm. I will say this, though, in terms of if you look at the profile, look at all the other receivers that we have on this on our roster, with the exception of probably Jakeem Grant and Albert Wilson. Merritt's, he's that change up wide receiver in terms of his profile. He's shorter, but he's a more compact guy. He's a more obviously faster guy. But I can see, again, I'll be pleasantly surprised if he makes it, because I can see how when you go into a spread set and you implement him into that particular play, just based off his speed alone, he's going to dictate coverage wherever he goes. You know what I mean? Because it's very few teams that have multiple defensive backs that have that kind of track speed. You know what I mean? And again, in the NFL, what puts the fear of God in all these defensive coordinators, they'll tell you. I heard Louis Riddick say that multiple times on ESPN. It's not strength, it's not all of these other attributes. It's speed. And you look at how Tyreek Hill, when he his rookie year, how they integrated him and implemented him into what they do. They just basically had him. They would implement him into the formation, and they would just have him going, running go routes, because wherever he went, he dictated coverage. He took the coverage away from everybody else. So in theory, with his profile, with his his crazy crackhead type speed, you know what I mean? I can see them. The approach would be to integrate him, just like kind of how they did with Tyreek Hill, because again, this kid's athletic ability is off the chart. So
think about this. Yeah,
but I can see that again.
Think about this. What did Kansas City go and do, right? They realized exactly what you're saying. So what did they do? They went and they doubled up and they got McCall Hardman, and then they got Demarcus Robinson, who can also run blazing 40s. But look at what we're doing. If you look at what we're doing, if a Merritt makes the team, check this out on a 4-receiver set, guys. You could put, if Albert Wilson gets that speed back that he had before the injury.
Oh, yeah.
If you have Albert Wilson and Kirk Merritt on each side in each slot, you can either kill you with speed in the middle, or you can go to Preston or Devontae on the outside, and you can win those one-on-one battles or those high point catches. And you got basketball players on the outside, and you got track stars on the inside. So it's pick your poison. What do you want us to beat you with?
Agreed. Again, I'm just concerned with him being able to.
No, to say, like on a draw play, imagine if you guys are going out, and then Breida just takes a draw 50.
Oh, man.
50 yards, like he did against Cleveland that Monday night.
Absolutely. And we're not even talking about, oh, man, we're forgetting about Matt Breida's crazy speed, bro. You know what I mean? Wow.
And Malcolm Perry. Let's talk about Malcolm Perry, too. I saw that in the chat. Malcolm Perry, I can't wait to see. I want to see, after the first day of training camp, I want to see all the Dolphins throw their bets.
He's going to be our Jason, he's going to be our Taysom Hill. I've been saying this, and I don't know if I've said this when you're on stream, but my thing with Malcolm Perry is, you know what he's going to do, Jason, especially if Fitzpatrick is successful, they're going to bring in Malcolm Perry. They're going to bring him in 4 or 5 receiver sets. Okay, he'll line up. They'll line him up in the backfield. But what they'll also do is they're going to run. I can guarantee you, if Fitzpatrick stays healthy and he's being successful, when they want to run RPO, they're going to bring Malcolm Perry in, and he's going to be our primary guy running RPO if Tua's not seeing the field, bro, because he's the ideal guy with that speed and athleticism. Because I don't know if you heard this. I told EM this, but if you go back, I got a crazy stat about Malcolm Perry, bro. And I don't know if you've heard it. I don't know if you've seen it. But if you go back, I believe it's since 2017, the most rushing touchdowns in FBS since 2017. Travis Etienne's number 1 with 56. Devin Singletary was number 2 with 54. Jonathan Taylor was number 3 with 50. Nathan Rourke from Ohio was number 4 with 49. And number 5, Malcolm Perry from Navy with 39 rushing. So he has the 5th most rushing touchdowns since 2017, bro.
I would love to see him in packages like you mentioned. They call it the Annapolis package for Navy. I'd love it.
Okay, so let's get off this. The next guy, the last guy on the list, players that could surprise. I put down Robert Hunt, and why I put them down for this is because I don't think people realize how big of a bully he is. I don't think people realize how violent he is at the point of attack and even at the second level. I've mentioned it before when we had Dante on. I really liked his. When you look against Southern Georgia, when you look against Appalachian State, I got a couple pieces of film here, a couple little one play each, one from the Georgia Southern game and one from the Appalachian. I got an example from the Appalachian where he chips, and he did it twice in the game. I couldn't find the one that I saw because I don't know how to clip this stuff yet. But there was one where he chipped the inside block, the inside defensive lineman, goes to the second level and explodes on the linebacker. But I have another example here of where he chips on the inside guy, he goes to the next level, and he just turns the guy towards the sideline like it's no issue at the second level. But I really think people are going to be surprised at not only how violent he is, not only at how much of a mauler he is, but I think people are going to be surprised at how good he's going to be, because I think that violent streak, you add in his size, I think this is a guy, I think he's on when I look at the guys who could be the best players in the draft, we look at a guy like Curtis Weaver in 5 years could be that. We look at a guy like Tua could obviously be that. We look at a guy, Raekwon Davis could be that. But I honestly think Robert Hunt makes that list of guys who could be the best player, one of, or if not the best player we selected in this draft. I think, I graded him as a guard. So that's when we initially drafted him, and I was on the other platform. That's what I gave the analysis on. I want to get your guys' thoughts on. I think he's going to be a day one impact starter, but I think this guy in 2 to 3 years is going to be a Pro Bowler, especially if they find a way to keep him at guard and they find that right tackle of the future to sit there. I think this guy has the sky's the limit for Robert Hunt, and I just wanted to get what you guys think about that. How big of a surprise do you think it's going to be to Dolphin fans when they realize how good this kid is in training camp?
Well, my only question marks that I have with him at this point is his ability to play in space. And we talked about this, privately. The more tape that you dug in, you saw him display that ability consistently. The more tape you watch of this kid, I'm not concerned about this kid's size, his power, his ability to move people. I am just concerned somewhat, and it's not a major concern. I'm just somewhat concerned about him being able to play in space, especially if they are trying to, play him primarily at right tackle. But yeah, that's going to be the biggest surprise to me in terms of me seeing. The biggest surprise for me will be if he can successfully show in training camp and then later on into the season that he is more mobile than what my initial thought of him, assessment of him was. So, but in terms of surprise, would I be surprised? No, I'm not going to be surprised because this kid, I think, and I'm like you, Reason, I think if he plays guard, I think he has a higher upside because again, I just don't see him as having the requisite, above average or elite mobility to be playing primarily on right tackle. So with that being said, that's going to be that's what I will be paying attention to in training camp and in preseason, and then obviously, once the season starts, how they deploy him. You know what I mean? I know we're going based off the additions that we made. If you just go primarily our profile, we seem to be transitioning to a gap power scheme, which relies less on mobility, but more on size and girth at the point of attack.
And those phone booth type of blockers that we talked about.
Phone booth type of guys. But I look at Eric Flowers. One thing about one aspect of his game that's underestimated is his ability to play in space. That dude, I just don't understand what the problem was, why he was so terrible at playing tackle, because this dude, his ability to get to the second level and his ability to play in space is there. I just don't understand what happened to him, why that was such a disaster, him at left tackle. But anyway, with that being said, that's not a problem with Eric Flowers. And again, I don't know if the only question mark, and it's not a big one, is his ability to play in space. So that's what I'll be paying attention to in the preseason and in the season. So,
Jason?
I like Hunt at the guard. I really hope give me a right guard. Let him settle in at the right guard spot for the athleticism aspect of it, which he has. He's got that mean streak. He's got a great story. I mean, I'm sure you guys know the ins and outs of Hunt and how he came up. And this guy, just you root for him. I think he's going to work insanely hard because that's what he's done to get to where he is. And 6'5", maybe 6'6", he's a big guard that you need on the right side. That would be ideal. I don't think I see him as a tackle. I think he could be that, but I love him as an interior line for this team. And I think there was a massive addition with interior line.
Okay, so shout out to Dante Collinelli for pulling this out. As you know, we had him on for our wide receiver show. Great guy. Go follow him at Dante Collinelli. I want to show this play, guys, because this is what I'm talking about. You guys have heard me talk about this. I couldn't find the exact play because on the exact play that I was talking about a couple of streams ago when we had Dante on EM, he blew up the linebacker at the second level. He didn't turnstile him towards he didn't turn him towards the sideline. He just blew the guy up at the next level. But I want to show this. I want to show the violent streak. So you guys are going to see a pen come in, and they're going to identify Robert Hunt. He's right here, if you can see my cursor. But let's roll through it fast one time. So there you go. He's pointing him out right there. He's number 50, guys. So what you're going to see is he's going to come in. He's going to chip the inside defender. He's going to go to the second level. And, guys, the second level is basically once you get to the linebackers and such. He's going to go to the second level, and he's going to take this linebacker, and he's just going to dominate him and turn him towards the side and just sideline and just take him out of the play. So watch. I want people to really understand the violence this guy plays with. Did you see that? Throw it one more time for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So he chips, and then boom, just takes that defender, number 59 right there. We'll watch it there slow again. We'll roll through it slow. I can hear EM leaning in. So what he does here, guys, is watch the hands. Watch where he puts his hands. Right underneath the pads. He does the quick chip with his hands placed. Look at he turns the inside defender towards the left sideline, totally off balance, takes him totally off the play. He disengages the block, and now he takes the linebacker at the next level right here. You see him right here, gets his hands on the pads, and just manhandles them, just sends them backwards, turns him. He's got that vice grip lock. Hands are engaged. Hands are straight up, pad level, under the pads, no hold though, and just turns him towards the sideline and just totally takes him out of the play like he's nothing. This is what you like to see, guys. It's not so much at that first level, but when you see the fact that, I mean, look at it, guys. He took two defenders out of the play. I'll show it one more time with you. There you go. You saw it fast. Look at how off balance that inside defender is just off that initial contact, guys. When you saw it in fast, look at that. Boom. He's off. He's totally out of the play. He's already turned around towards the sideline, right? But the awareness, EM, he turns him towards the sideline. He notices the linebacker at the second level starting to move up, and he notices him. He disengages, and he just takes out. And look at, he creates the run lane. He creates the whole run lane for that for his running back, and it's all about, not only do you see great technique with the hands, with the heavy hands, the violence, the maul, but you see the awareness, right? You see he keeps his head on the swivel after he takes that lineman. After he takes that defensive lineman out of the play, he keeps his head on the swivel. He notices the second level linebacker, and boom, takes him right out of the play, creates that gap for that running back to hit. And those are the things you'll love to see, guys. I really like this kid. I know EM's probably sick of me talking about him because I have said this He is one of my favorites of this draft, right? And I just wanted to show another one to you guys. I love it. I want you guys to see. I want you to see. Okay, this is guys. So what you're going to see is he's over here. Okay, he's in the right tackle position. What he's going to do is he's going to pull along the line, right? And he's going to pull along the second line, and he's going to go straight to the second level. Okay? He's not going to chip. He's not going to take anyone on the interior. He's going to pull along the line. He's going to go to the second level, and watch what he does, guys. I want you to see this. There you go. He's been identified with that arrow. So he pulls along. Boom. Just takes the man out. No problem. Just absolutely dominates him. Boom. You're gone.
And that is what I want to see more of moving forward. His ability to do that. He's coming all the way across the formation, bro.
And he just boom takes him. Doesn't even like You know,
that's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see more of.
Yeah.
Do you think you in terms of here's a question for both of y'all. You know how we are well, I don't know about Jason, how he feels about this player, but Reason and I have talked, we've talked about the possibility of signing Larry Warford from New Orleans. Do you think is it a possibility that maybe as to why we haven't seen maybe Miami be more aggressive in terms of signing him is because they might be a little unsure on where to play Robert Hunt initially, you think? What do you think, Jason?
Great player. I don't think they're going to bring him in. I don't think they're going to bring him in because I'm just looking at the last year, the offseason, and the pattern. They're not going to bring in players if they don't necessarily need to, even if it's a very nice luxury, because it's going to cost a decent price, but they have a very full room of potential linemen right now. They drafted 3. They brought in Karras, they brought in Flowers. And we're really looking at a roster that there's going to be cuts made at linebacker, cornerback, at running back, at wide receiver. So I don't necessarily know if bringing in, spending money for a guy like a veteran, breaking up a little bit of that great average age on the young side of things. I don't know if they're bringing a veteran this late and creating some worry on the rookie side of things. I think they want to build these young kids, develop homegrown talent, and with the money that they have left, you know what? Save it for a rainy day. If they sign him, I'm not upset. Do I think yes or no? Are they going to bring in Wofford? No, I don't think they're going to bring him in.
I want to show another thing, guys. I want to show we talk about how big of a bully this man is. Okay, so I want to show 2 plays. They're back-to-back plays. Okay, guys. So what happens here is I want you to see Robert Hunt's out here. I want you to see the post-play engagement. He engages at that second level, and him and the linebacker, they do that little fight, right? I want you to see it again. Gets to the second level, they engage, they do that little fight. Well, I guess Robert Hunt didn't like the extracurricular activity because that Mississippi State linebacker on the very next play, guys, okay, and here he is, Robert Hunt again. He's out there on right tackle. I don't know if you've seen this, EM. I don't know if you've seen this, Jason. I want you to watch. He remembered what just happened, and this is what he does. Okay, guys? Boom. Like, just blows him up. Okay? And just with hands, just with 2 cement-heavy hands right at the high pad level, just throws him. Just tosses him, brother. Like, this is you know who he reminds me of, bro? Minus the bad attitude. He reminds me of Richie Incognito.
Let's hope not here.
I said minus the attitude. I said minus the attitude. Incognito played with that rough, violent streak in him. And Robert Hunt, look at it. This is a simple. He just goes to the second level. He doesn't even worry about. He didn't even worry about the edge coming off. Watch the edge come off. He totally lets the edge fly by him just because he wants to get to the second level when he should have. Because when you look at the fullback 22, he was picking up the outside DB. So I think that that left edge was Robert Hunt's assignment because he even looks at him first, and then he just kicks off him and he gives him an open field, and he just wants that revenge. He wants that revenge at the second level.
He looks comfortable at playing in space as well, bro.
I'm telling you, bro.
He's very comfortable.
I am telling you, brother. This guy is very, very good, bro. There's a reason why. You got to think about this, EM. Who did we snatch him from under the nose of, right? We snatched him from under the nose of. And you know what? I trust the Baltimore Ravens because these are the guys who brought in Marshall Yanda and et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
I just want to think that because of those 2 plays because he gets space, he gets that open space, and he just mauls people, bro. So
I just think if he pans out at right tackle, that means Jesse Davis is going to be kicked inside. I just think
that's his natural position.
If you make an addition like a Larry Warford, that's his natural position. But if you make an addition like a Larry Warford, I think that would just solidify things up front. I would feel so much more comfortable going into the season if they were bringing a player of that caliber. And again, he's only asking for only $7 million, but in terms of NFL money, he's only asking for $7 million. That's what he and his agent, what they said when he was released. That's what they, that's what their initial asking price is. $7 million.
And he hasn't turned 29 yet. He's still 28, right?
And I don't understand why are you flirting with the idea of bringing in a player like Logan Ryan as opposed to a player like this? You know what I mean? I just don't get that. I don't understand the intrigue with Logan Ryan. I understand the relationship with Flores and everything, but no, if there is a position where you're pretty much set at it, that would be defensive back, cornerback. Yeah. But I just don't understand. I would just feel so much better if they brought a player into this caliber.
Imagine putting a guy like Warford inside next to a guy like that at Robert Hunt. And you don't think
absolutely,
bro. I mean that's going to help the growth and development of a guy like Robert Hunt at right tackle. Not only you're going to have a guy who's coming off 3 Pro Bowls next to you, but you got that seasoned veteran who's seen it all and you can lean on, and it's just you're going to see a quicker and a more rapid development as opposed to you putting Hunt at right tackle and Jesse Davis at right guard. Right?
And again, on paper, just the communication up front alone will be so much more improved than what we saw last year. The communication alone with those 3 veterans on the interior with Flowers, Karras, and him.
It's sexy, bro. That to me is sexy. That's how I know I'm old and I'm a football fan. Because you just said something and I got a halfie, bro. Because that's sexy to me, bro. So.
So I hope to make that happen, but we'll see.
For the first time in a long time, I think I am going to go purchase an offensive lineman. Just I told you guys I wanted offensive lineman in the draft, so we got 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
In the draft, so I'm very happy about that.
Yeah. So guys, we're at the 2 hour and 15-minute mark. I just want to ask before we get into what's coming up next week, EM. I wanted to go through. I want to give Jason, and I want to give you EM. Any last things you guys want to say before we get out of here?
No, man. It's always a pleasure to be with you guys, and I enjoy, giving me the opportunity to talk some football with you and some of the nice words you've said. I really appreciate you giving me the forum, and it's a pleasure as always. So, hope you guys have a terrific rest of your Memorial Day weekend. Same to everybody out there listening. So, thanks to everyone. I think we covered everything.
Bro, I'm just going to say, Jason, before we get to EM's final thoughts, these people are really going to see you shine when this training camp hits, bro, because I don't know anyone other than EM who called Nick Needham, and I don't know anyone on the face of God's green earth who called Nick Needham and Preston Williams last year. So I think people are really – I can't wait.
There was a small car, but there were people in it. There was a small car, though.
But bro, I can't wait. I can't wait for people to see what we're gonna bring to them with this training camp coverage with you leading the charge for this channel, bro. It's gonna be exciting, bro. And then I can't wait as we get into the regular season and the 3 of us to see what training camp results into as we continue on with this journey. EM, what's going on with you, brother? Any last thoughts?
Just want to appreciate Jason. It's always a pleasure, homie. You're part of the family, bro, and it's always a pleasure to get your insight on our team. And you're very knowledgeable and very good at what you do, man. And it's always a pleasure for me because I learn a lot from you every time I hear you. Not just on this platform, but I follow you on your platform as well. So, but yeah, everybody coming out again. Appreciate all the love. Everybody that's been hanging out with us in the comment section, and everybody that follows us and continue to show us, that are, appreciative of what we do. And it's very, 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 it's greatly appreciate all the support from everybody. And yeah, man, Y'all already know what time it is. It's Fins up all day, every day, baby.
So,
all
guys,
day, every day.
We will be back.
Did you make the announcement about?
I didn't yet, bro. So we will be back on Monday night. We're just gonna do our thing, bro. We'll let you know, guys, Monday in the day what time we'll be coming. But Wednesday night, guys, 8 p.m. Was it? It's 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, I believe. Is that what it is? EM? I think 7. Right?
7 Central?
Is it? It's hold on. Let me just double check.
Did you say 7?
Yeah. So, guys, Wednesday, May 27th, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. Me and EM, we are going to be going live with Richmond Webb, legendary left tackle of the Miami Dolphins. And guys, you're not there. You go. And this man has this. Jason's putting up the picture, guys. Richmond Webb, absolute stud of a left tackle from Texas A&M. You know, he's picked number 9th overall by the Dolphins in the 1990 draft. This man protected Marino's blindside for 10 years. You know, he's in the Dolphins Ring of Honor. It's going to be an exciting conversation with them. We're going to pick his brain. Can't wait to have that. So it's just going to be the start of a few things we're going to be doing here and bringing to the channel. But other than that, guys, we hope to see you Monday. We hope all of y'all take the time out to come in Wednesday and check out that interview. But other than that, as always, guys, it's Fins Up all day, every day. And we hope y'all have a happy, healthy, and safe Memorial Day weekend.